And
You
what
want
was
a hot dog?
you killing me, dude?
All right, welcome back to Purple Sector, everyone. And let's start this week with some NASCAR. KMag, how we feeling?
I'm not a NASCAR fan traditionally, but if KMag's gonna be racing, I might have to be. We got another infamous quote. We had "suck my balls, mate," before he was teammates with Hulkenberg. And then now this time, I don't know the other driver, but they got into it. There was a incident,
It's
and
like Gragdon or
what was
something
it?
like that's his last name.
Uh, you could have said any name, and I would have shaken my head yes. You effed around and found out. So.
Past
Yeah,
tense.
KMag still doing KMag things. I love to see it.
Intentionally, for anyone that doesn't know, he intentionally put the guy into the wall. They're like fighting for 30th. And I looked up the video later today after hearing the interview. And I guess the guy basically for that like 30th spot or however far back they were just kept brake checking him every time he tried to make a move. So I probably would have put him in the wall too. That's freaking annoying. So cheers to K-Mag. We might have to add a little NASCAR into our viewings in the future. Love that guy. But pretty funny the midweek or early week action.
I think you can get away with that driving style in NASCAR a little easier than you can when you're racing multi-million-dollar
I want
F1
to see him on the
cars,
oval. I want to see him on the oval.
Oh, yeah.
He's like bump draft K-Mag style. That was solid. Another quote from him. Switching back, coming up on Austria, the only two drivers going to this weekend that have scored points every weekend so far are Hamilton and Gasly, which is Hamilton's. I guess he's kind of surprising after last season, but Hamilton and Gasly, based on the season, how the season has gone, isn't that surprising. They both have raced well. Alpine's performing. Hamilton's been doing Hamilton things, so I'm definitely happy for Gasly. I mean, I haven't never been the biggest Hamilton fan, but he's a legend, so.
Yeah, that stat line was surprising to me when I saw it, but I also think you got to take it with a grain of salt because I think there'd be at least 3 or 4 other drivers that would be on that list if not for mechanical failures, reliability issues. Like, I think you can add Kimi, George, Lando, and Oscar to that list as well.
Yeah, probably max top 10, I would imagine. Their car's been decent. We added on to our DNSs, it's now to 19, so makes sense. Why that's, I guess, yeah, it's really not that surprising, but happy for Gasly to have a pretty good season going. I feel like he's been in the trenches for a very long time. So,
yeah, I feel like the chapter of his Monaco podium is still not closed. I think there's still some investigation and things going on there. I think Mercedes pulled their
they retracted theirs.
Write a review. I think they realized that it was going to jeopardize Kimi's win if they started digging too far into that. So, but I think McLaren is still trying to figure out what their rightful place is there. So we'll see. But yeah, Gasly's been killing it. He was fighting with Max for the first couple of races. Definitely an improved Alpine. We've even seen Colapinto into the points. So yeah, hope we get to see more of it. They've got a big upgrade coming. We'll talk about upgrades here in a minute. But yeah, see if Alpine can maybe get a double points finish this weekend. We'll see.
That'd be good. Be kind of weird, but be good. I'll jump into some just straight up facts from Austria, and I'll kind of read them so that way I don't mess up our facts here. Shorter track, 2.68 miles, so very quick. There's only 10 corners, and the lap times based on last year's race average, so not qualifying, were in the 1/10. So it's a very fast lap.
I think into the like 105s, 106s for quality or something.
Yeah, 105.
Like that.
It was I think like a 104 or something was pole last year, 105. Lots of action at turn 3, which is kind of becoming a famous thing the last couple of years. The hairpin, it's only heavy braking zone. Last year, Antonelli looked like he just drove straight into Max. Rookie mistake. Previous year was the Max Lando conflict there, which DNF'd Lando, and then Max kind of got away with a jacked tire, but ruined both their races pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's the batteries are they're probably gonna be an issue here. This is, in my opinion, a little bit more similar to Australia and China, where we saw super clipping and harvesting be a big talking point. This is a pretty quick track, even though the lap is short. A lot of high-speed sweepers, not a lot of heavy braking, and so that means your harvesting opportunities are limited. So your straight line speed, your ability to harvest, keep your battery levels up, and I'll bet, I mean, like other years, turn 3 is going to be your main overtaking spot, unless you really put your balls on the dash and go for it. Try to hang it around the outside or get a dive bomb. Turn 3, maybe turn 4 are really your opportunities for overtaking here.
Yeah, we don't have the 2 DRS zones, so I actually haven't looked at the straight mode for this weekend, which is kind of a fail. Have you glanced at that?
I haven't, but I'm going to assume pit straight between turns 1 and 3, and then probably between turns 3 and 4. So really the first
2 DRS zones and the straight.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I would guess.
Yeah.
I would think the battery issues would be an issue, like you said. I could imagine that turn, if they count the little one, like turn 5, 6, 7, like kind of the mid speed corners might end up just being, sector 2 is going to just be battery charging, which is going to be pretty lame. It'll be slow speed if they do that.
You can recharge when you're off throttle like that, but it's not going to be as good as your heavy braking zones. So we'll see. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with these regulations is you could catch someone out. They're harvesting, and if you've got a little bit of juice in the tank, then you can push that button and maybe get a pass off where in other years you might not have been able to. So there's opportunity for that.
Yeah, just like you said, hang them on the dash and take someone on the outside or inside and catch them off.
Yeah.
Might hurt you. You had brought up that the track favors a sharper front end, so we're talking Max. Everyone knows Max likes the knife edge. Oscar and Charles, very similar. So might see them perform well. We'll see. Traditionally, 63% safety car on this track, pretty high. And there is a decently high chance of rain. We're at 40% right now. We really don't have that much experience with these in the wet. We had the Canada experience, which
it's gonna rain. Was
not great for McLaren.
Nope.
And then there's some Alonso something that we don't know if it's true that Ferrari have more experience in the wet because they do more Pirelli testing. That's kind of goes under the rumor category.
Yeah, that was potentially a clickbait article that I saw. I didn't have time to read the whole thing, but yeah, this seems like that would be an unfair advantage. So I'd be surprised if there was truth to that. I am looking forward to our first rain race. I don't know when it's gonna get here.
I mean, I like the chaos, so it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But we'll find out. 40% could dump off to 15%, or it could go up to 70%. So as we get closer to the weekend, we'll find out.
Yeah, it could change between now and then, so we'll see. Should we get into upgrades?
Yes, we are. Let me get a couple of the small ones out of the way so we can get to a little bit more exciting. Nothing for Aston. Cool. But we talked about it last week. They do have a bigger package coming in like a month or so. So they got something coming. It's supposed to be big. Rumors that they're shooting for it was like 2.5 seconds or something like that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think 2.5 seconds is ambitious. We talked about this in the last episode. But I guess Aston and Honda have had some pretty bigwig meetings. I think even one in person in Barcelona at the race. So they're trying to get the team to gel. They're just so far behind the curve at this point that any improvements they can make, other teams are going to be able to make improvements before they can even bring it. So I'm sure they might get. We'll give them. Maybe they get 2 seconds. I think that's still incredibly optimistic. But I think the other teams are going to still find another half a second to a second. So it's their relative gain is not going to be as high as maybe 2.5 seconds sounds on paper.
I think they're just trying to not lose to Cadillac this season. I think that's kind of the goal at this point.
Yeah, well, right now there's one championship point between them, so it's up for grabs. And we'll talk about Cadillac here in a second, but things might be changing here soon.
Yes. So Aston Nunn, V-Carb, not a lot of info on that. Audi's upgrading their power unit, so we'll see what that brings for them. They haven't been terrible.
Yeah, and there was some rumors that they actually have already brought an upgrade as recently as Barcelona. But I think it was just some small tweaks, kind of focused on drivability and reliability. I don't know what that means because I think your ADOU allows a certain amount of money and a certain amount of upgrades, and how they determine that, I don't fully understand. I would bet they're going to bring something else at some point.
Williams, nothing crazy, just kind of circuit tweaking. I'm sure they're further working on weight reduction. Kind of same with McLaren, little things. I know you love this. They're rumoring or teasing a Macarena rear wing, which would be fun to see another top team have that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to it. We saw a performance jump from Ferrari and Red Bull when they introduced theirs, and so this is probably McLaren's version of that. Sounds like it's been teased by Andrea Stella, so it sounds like it's at least going to show up on Friday, and they'll do some testing. I have a suspicion that this is going to be similar to what we saw in Red Bull, where we might see it 1 or 2 times before they actually roll it out for a race. So I don't think it's going to be on the car, but who knows? Maybe testing goes well and they decide to roll the dice.
All right, you keep us rolling on upgrades.
Yeah. Well, Haas is one of the Ferrari teams, so we'll get to Ferrari here in a minute, but the big news is that they're bringing their first engine upgrades, and so all of the customer teams that run that Ferrari power unit get a boost of performance along with that. Haas looked a little rough in Barcelona, so we'll see if they can bring the fight up. Right now, they're kind of at the tail end of the midfield here. They need a little boost here. I don't know whether that Ferrari engine is the ticket. Yeah. I don't know. Mercedes, again, not a lot of news for upgrades. Mercedes, I'm a little bit concerned about their development pace. We really only saw small upgrades in Miami, and I think there was some more in Canada, but not a lot of stuff, and we haven't really seen a dramatic change to their pace. And so we've seen other teams begin to close the gap, and we still aren't really seeing major upgrades happening. So who knows? Maybe there's a bigger package coming in the weeks ahead. We've got Silverstone coming up where the team is based. Maybe they're going to bring something. For now, it sounds like their main...
If they were so confident, they kind of pushed a lot of their stuff back based on how the year started.
I don't know. So it's hard to tell. It's not that they're not trying stuff. It might just be that the stuff that they're trying isn't showing enough performance gain on paper that they're not even bother bringing it to the track. So just because we don't see it doesn't mean a team's not developing something. But until then, we don't really know. It sounds like their focus right now is this battery issue. This continues to be an issue that's plaguing the Mercedes-powered teams. We've seen a lot of power unit failures, particularly the battery. It's now coming to light that the DNFs that Russell and Kimi have been focused on battery failures tied to temperature. I guess that battery becomes really sensitive when it doesn't get enough cooling. That becomes more of a problem when cars are fighting or when they're following really closely. And so the thought is that that's what we saw in Canada and what we saw in Barcelona. So I'm predicting that that's going to be a continued issue, that we're going to see more Mercedes power unit failures and some DNFs until something changes with an upgrade there. The other Mercedes news is, there's been a lot of hoopla about their diffuser. Ferrari tried to do something with their diffuser and the FIA put the kibosh on it. And then they saw Mercedes look at their diffuser, and their Mercedes diffuser was allowed. And so Ferrari's like, what the heck, dude? We basically proposed the same thing. You didn't let me do that. So I think that's going to be one of the upgrades for Ferrari. But the FIA cleared it. They said Mercedes diffuser's fine. So,
millimeters.
Yeah, it's real tight regulations. But I don't know. I don't hear anything from those guys. I think those are kind of the smaller packages or the teams that it's a little unclear what they're doing. But there are some big upgrade packages coming. One of them is Cadillac, right? So they're another Ferrari-based team. They get the power unit boost. Sounds like they're also bringing a big package for an aero overhaul, potentially some suspension. So we'll see what that does to their pace. Yes, it is. So we'll see what their performance is relative to Aston. Like I said, there's only 1 point separating them in the constructors. And yes, they're fighting for 10th place. But as we've talked about before, this is millions of dollars just between 11th and 10th place. So these guys aren't going to go down without a fight. They're going to race to develop their car, and we've got years of regulation ahead. So the performance you find now is going to serve you in the years coming. So, here's the hoping we see Perez and Bottas move up the order just a little bit.
Yeah, more fighting in the middle. Alpine's bringing more major upgrades, customer team, more aero. So, I mean, their cars performed well, so I'm assuming they're going to kind of stay up there. I don't expect them to be top 4, but they've proven they can bring it. So,
if memory serves, they're one of the few teams that was actually at the weight limit or very close to the weight limit at the beginning of the season. So their performance gains are going to be relative to whatever gains the Mercedes power unit can have and aero upgrades, which is why their list seems shorter. But it sounds like there's some big changes coming to the aero package, which on a track like Austria is going to have some performance benefits. You can make your car a little bit slippier.
I would assume some of their aero is tailoring towards the battery issue too, like trying to figure out some cooling. They haven't really seemed to get hit by that yet, and avoiding it would probably be a good idea.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Sorry guys, I didn't mean it. I'm of course excited. Red Bull is bringing more weight reduction and 6 to 7 kilograms, but rumored to get them to that minimum weight limit finally. So big deal for them. That might be the step they need. Might bring some side pod, front wing. I'm sure all these teams are going to do track specific aero. So we'll see what Red Bull brings, but the weight reduction has been basically a 2-week, not a rumor, but they've just been talking about it for 2 weeks. Like ever since we got out of the last race, hey, Red Bull's bringing weight reduction. That's like basically all I had on upgrades last week. So the fact that that's the big thing this week, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, weight is a big deal, right? Because it affects all different parts of the car, right? It affects your suspension rates, it affects your fuel usage, it affects how heavy the car is vis-a-vis how much you wear your tires, right? It's going to impact your grip levels. There's a lot going on. Here's your acceleration, your deceleration, right? Your car's inertia. So shedding those 6 to 7 kilograms, which, if you just think about 6 to 7 kilograms in your hand, doesn't sound like a lot, but, I forget what the equation is. It's, multiple tenths per kilogram or something like that. So, this could be a big change for Red Bull. And I know that prompted pretty hot take on your podium predictions. So
Yeah, we'll get to
that here in a little bit.
Don't ruin it.
but-
Everyone knows now. About to make it crazier now. Obviously, the big talk on power unit upgrades is Ferrari so far going through upgrades. So Ferrari's bringing power unit upgrade, rumored 15 horsepower, which is a big deal when it comes to the power units. Every little bit helps. I don't know about the new fuel, so hit me with that.
I mean, I guess in theory it's just about emissions and running cleaner. When you can burn fuel at a cleaner rate, you just have more efficiency. So who knows? I don't know that it would impact reliability too much, but maybe it does. Injectors and all that stuff. If you're not running good fuel, you can get them all gumped up. But yeah, I don't know quite what that impact's going to have, but 15 horsepower doesn't sound like a lot, but it's going to be a lot. Yeah. And then that diffuser, right? That sounds like they're going to try to rehash their idea of the diffuser since the FIA allowed it.
Bring it back. Speaking of Ferrari, so Lewis is performing well. Charles is in a slump. And then, so Ferrari's kind of taking it up a notch. Mercedes, not necessarily moving. Like, if we're talking no major upgrades, I'm kind of feeling like this is Ferrari's jump up to really challenge Mercedes. Yes, obviously, anytime you bring upgrade packages, you could fall flat on your face. We've seen that with just about every team, every regulation set. I mean, ground effects era, you saw it all the time. Oh, we brought this floor. Terrible. And then they revert right back to the next race. I feel like this is going to be a jump up Ferrari. The question is, do you think Charles outpaces Lewis here if he jumps out of his slump? I think it's time. Lewis has a history of being out-qualified here. Where are you at?
Yeah. Two thoughts cross my mind. One is the the trends of how the two drivers perform at this track. So we've already talked about kind of the driving styles and the fact that drivers who prefer a sharper front end, like Charles, excel at this track. He's finished well in recent times. On the other side of the garage, Lewis has a trend of being out-qualified by his teammates here. Now, given that was Mercedes in an era where Mercedes wasn't the best car, so I'm taking that with a grain of salt. My gut is Lewis is hot. He likes the feel of this car. He's got more experience with these brakes. So I think Charles, yes, is going to break out of his slump, but I have Lewis finishing ahead of him.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. My only, not really arguing your point with the past Mercedes.
You can argue with me.
Teammate had the same equipment. I mean, that's still always argument. But just like this regulation set, someone figures out something quicker than another teammate. Kind of with Lando and Oscar. We feel like Lando has figured it out, and Oscar's still kind of lost in the sauce a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we saw this last year. McLaren brought an upgrade to the front wing and the suspension that would help Lando basically feel the movement of the car more. And so it just comes down to driving styles and how certain drivers want the car to feel. I think that's part of the reason that Lewis has had this resurgence. He's just really enjoying this driving style. It's got different qualities, obviously, to a ground effect era car, and for whatever reason that suits him. So I don't know. Maybe Charles is struggling in that way, or maybe it is just a streak of bad luck, and we're going to see him bounce back.
How you feeling about your boys in Papaya coming to this weekend?
I'm all over the place, man, because I was high on them, and then we had some bad luck and some failures and some bad strategy, and then I jumped ship. I said stay away from McLaren, and Lando winds up on the podium. So I don't know, man. I'm totally lost. I know this is traditionally a good McLaren track. The McLaren, even last year with the last rig set, McLaren has excelled at high speed and medium speed corners, and you get a lot of that here at Austria. It was no surprise that we saw those cars dominate there last year. There is still the Mercedes power unit issues, and so I'd be amiss to not bring up the fact that Lando's on his last battery here. The next one he takes is a 10-place grid penalty. So there's going to be pain coming. It's just a matter of when, I think, at this point. Yep. So I don't know. I don't want to completely spoil my predictions, but I think they're going to have an okay race. I don't think they're going to have a great race.
All right, before we move on to our prediction and everything, do you think this is your team? So do you think it's best if McLaren ride out his last battery and hope Mercedes gets the fix and gets everything figured out? Or if any of the races coming up tend to be poor for them or Lando, take the grid penalty, the 10-place grid penalty, and get a battery in? Like, just because obviously,
I don't know.
We talked about this previously. There's wear and tear on everything in these cars, so you tend to take, a new battery, new, what all the parts, exhaust, suspension, like whatever you have extra, you take that after an allotted amount of laps or track distance or time, whatever the part is. Do you think they take that grid penalty strategically where they want to, or just ride it out and let it happen?
Well, I think the difficult thing for me is there's a lack of clarity of how the allocation rules are impacted by upgrades like that. Because they're a customer team, they receive the same upgrades that the Mercedes team brings, right? It's all an equal air quote level playing field between the customer teams. So, if they don't take it and they wait, does that count as an allocation? Or if they did take it, that'll obviously count as an allocation. But then let's say Mercedes brings an upgrade. Does that then count as another allocation, meaning it would be a second 10-place grid penalty? I don't know which way that works. I feel like we should do a little bit of research there and see if we can find the answer to that.
This is kind of going in that gray area where we don't know the back end on everything.
Yeah, so right now we're forced to make an assumption. If they would get penalized just by bringing an upgrade, then I would say wait it out. The batteries in these cars are no different than the batteries that you have in a TV remote, right? Eventually, they're going to wear out. A rechargeable battery wears over time based on temperature and how long it holds its charge, right? So if a battery gets hot, it's not going to last as long. It's not going to hold its charge as well. Likewise, if you continually charge it and you leave it charged, right? This is what my wife does. She leaves things charged in all the time, and then the battery dies.
I'm guilty of that on a few things.
Yeah, sometimes you got to let that battery drain. It'll make it actually last longer. But anyway,
big wheels these are always plugged in.
Yep, that'll get you. So. Yeah, I guess my point is the batteries in these cars are constantly fluctuating because of how quick the deployment is and how quick the recharge is. So I have to think that the wear on that battery is pretty high. That said, if it's going to hurt them to take it and then get an upgrade and it hurts them again, I would just ride it out. That said, I think if you wait too long, then you risk a DNF for a battery failure. So tough decision, man.
Yeah,
I'm not.
The thought came with we have Silverstone coming up. That's a home track for Lando. You hate to see it there, but also bringing a new battery doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to DNF with the current state of everything. So I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter at this point.
Well, they DNS'd at the second race of the season, so it had nothing to do with wear. It was just issues.
And obviously they're not going to take it at Silverstone unless they have to. Yeah, cool. No, it's good to hear thoughts on that. We'll definitely dive into figuring out the allocations with customer teams, how that works. Um, I'll jump into my predictions first. Everyone's gonna love my podium. I know you love my podium. Um, no podium yet. I think Ferrari's gonna stay strong. I think Hamilton will still look good. I think Leclerc is jumping out of his slump. I do believe he outperforms Hamilton, whether that's them fighting head to head in the race or qualifying. I'm not that good at prediction. I don't know. I think Leclerc tops Hamilton this weekend. Um, my boy, Max, is going to quali high. I'm not saying pole, but I think he's going to get in the lead early. I think he's going to come in a Red Bull ring aggressive. He likes his track. I think he would have had a good finish last year, or is it last year? But Kimi destroyed him. Lap one, very sad. So podium, Max, Kimi, Leclerc. And then after that, it's kind of a hodgepodge. I never know where to throw George in. This seems to be our new problem of forgetting George, because I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, I think Hamilton might be fourth. If Red Bull actually has good package, Hadjar might be right up there. And then I'm sitting there thinking like Oscar likes an aggressive front end, so he's up there. But oh wait, we have a Mercedes missing still, so who knows? I think if Max doesn't get pole, I think he goes aggressive on the hairpin around there somewhere, lap 1 or 2, and just try to make things happen. But this is me being half fanboy. No, definitely all fanboy. It's a Max and Red Bull team combo, but I think the upgrade's going to look good for them. I don't think they've been that far off the last couple races. It's really sad what happened at Monaco. I think it's going to be a good weekend. So I think Max gets it. Kimi second, Leclerc third, sprinkle in everyone else after.
I think a Max podium is definitely not out of the question. I think a Max win is
the win is my
bold.
hot take.
I'm not.
It's a hot take.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if that happens. But Max has proven me wrong countless times before.
The only thing I'll throw on that, which is my original podium when I was thinking about this, teams have been fighting a lot. Red Bull hasn't really been the one fighting, so we might get 2 Ferraris fighting, two Mercs fighting, or fighting each other. Maybe throw some McLarens in there. There might be opportunities, strategy or racecraft. So I think it's on the table.
That's fair. So my prediction is both Ferrari and Red Bull have improved pace. I think Mercedes and McLaren take a relative step back. Not less performance, but no performance gain. Wouldn't be surprised to see another Mercedes power unit failure. Who's it going to be? I don't know. Roll your dice. Right?
One from every
Could
team.
be any one of them. Oh, please no.
Could you imagine?
That would be a bad look. So I've got Kimi as my winner. I wasn't hot on him in the beginning. I said he was new. I doubted his experience. He proved me wrong. I've finally ripped the Band-Aid. Said he was going to win in Barcelona.
He's here, boys.
Of course, he DNF'd. So I'm running it back.
I need to change my podium.
I'm going to trust. I'm gonna trust it one more time, and then if it goes sideways on me again, I'm just lost completely. I've got Lewis P2 and George P3. I definitely think Lewis has got the opportunity to finish over George. George clearly a step behind Kimi. I have Charles P4. I think he's not going to be far off the back of George is my guess. I also, like I said, I think Red Bull's relative performance game means that Max is probably in that P4, P5 conversation. And then I've got the McLaren boys behind those two.
Okay.
So.
All right. Where are you throwing Hadjar?
Yeah. I think he's in the points, but probably a P9, P10.
Okay. Fair. Yeah.
Yeah. The other dark horse is Hulkenberg. He's had some recent luck around here, so some experience.
He's been racing well, had some bad luck, but
yeah. And then I think you got to throw Gasly in there somewhere too, just based off of his form and the Alpine performance.
I think you nailed it. I think the only thing I didn't consider when I originally thought of my podium was the super clipping battery issues around here. So I guess we'll see where that pays off, and we'll see with the wet, if it's wet. I'm feeling good. My podium feels real good if it's wet, actually, with Max Kimi 1-2, but that could pay off. Charles, I have no idea. Wet. He might just.
If it rains, all bets are off. Yeah. Well, if Charles doesn't finish P4, P5, he just has binned it somewhere. That's the form that he's in.
Yeah. On that note, hopefully Charles doesn't bin this weekend, but we'll do a little more race preview before the weekend, and y'all have a good one. Bye.